At the moment, the most typical functional AI system is a computer equipped with a database and an algorithm designed to do one and only one thing that would normally take human intelligence to carry out. The term artificial, from the Latin words for skill and make, signals the fact that this is not natural intelligence, nor is it innate intelligence, but rather it is simulated intelligence. This has led to it being called narrow AI, artificial narrow intelligence, or weak AI. On the more speculative side, however, there is considerable interest in the ambitious quest, the holy grail of computer science, to build systems that can replicate all that human intelligence can do and more. This is called general AI, artificial general intelligence, AGI, or strong AI. Some think that we will be able to create general AI that will surpass human intelligence within a relatively short time, certainly by 2084. At the moment, however, only narrow AIs exist. Some that can play chess, others that can play go better than humans, and yet others can do language translation, recognize faces, or compose music, and so on. But there is no single AI system that can do all of these things, or even a few. Beyond AGI lies artificial superintelligence, ASI. Some hold that ASI, or even AGI if we ever get there, will function as a benevolent god, others as a totalitarian despot, such that the issue of who or what is in control, the so-called control problem, becomes an important consideration. In our contemporary technopoly, technology rules in a general sense. But will it one day rule in a more particular sense through an AGI or an ASI? And if so, how can we prepare ourselves for it? The control problem was foreseen by Norbert Wiener, one of the most brilliant mathematicians of his generation, who wrote, "If we use to achieve our purposes a mechanical agency with whose operation we cannot efficiently interfere, then we had better be quite sure that the purpose put into the machine is the purpose which we really desire." Obviously, there is a great deal of hype and sensationalism associated with AGI. Charles Isbell, an artificial intelligence researcher at Georgia Tech, once told technology writer Ian Bogost that given all the speculation about AI, he thought it should simply mean making computers act like they do in the movies. Bogost goes on further to say, in science fiction, the promise or threat of artificial intelligence is tied to humans' relationship to conscious machines. Machines warrant the name AI when they become sentient, or at least self-aware enough to act with expertise, not to mention volition and surprise. What to make, then, of the explosion of supposed AI in media, industry, and technology? In some cases, the AI designation might be warranted, even if with some aspiration. But in most cases, the systems making claims to artificial intelligence aren't sentient, self-aware, volitional, or even surprising. They're just software. Bogost cites bot author Alison Parrish. Whenever someone says AI, what they're really talking about is a computer program someone wrote. Even if that may be somewhat inaccurate, we need this sort of healthy corrective from time to time to keep our feet on the ground and our heads from being stretched too far into the sky. But one thing we should make no mistake about is that even if AGI or ASI is never reached, narrow AIs that currently only simulate a single human activity will inevitably be combined to do more of the things that only humans do at present. Increasing capacity in this way will involve immense computing power as well as great expense, which may ultimately prove prohibitive, even for large international corporations or nations. Yet there is little doubt that the difference between what AIs can do and what humans can do will inevitably decrease. As we already see happening, some AIs will overtake humans in a particular competence, And that will raise the question of what exactly is distinctive about human beings themselves. Norbert Wiener, in his 1948 landmark book, Cybernetics, or Control and Communication in the Animal and the Machine, wondered whether the ability to play chess represented an essential difference between the potentialities of the machine and the mind. We now know it does not. Machines today can play chess, and the even more complex game of go better than the best human players. The more machines approach and surpass human competence, the more we will be asking ourselves how they should be treated. Recall that at one time, a computer was a person who did calculations. Now it is a machine that does what humans once did. A machine that increasingly has human capacities attributed to it, even as humans are being increasingly treated as machines. These circumstances inevitably require us to think more deeply about what being human really means. We emphasize, however, that AI intelligence is not real. T.S. Lewis gives an analogy that can help us understand the significance of the adjective artificial in artificial intelligence. It has to do with the distinction between making and begetting. A carpenter makes a chair, but he begets a child. The chair is an artifact. That is, it is made by his art or skill, and therefore will reflect some of his tastes. But the child is begotten in his image and possesses all the characteristics of his life. There is an impassable gulf between the two that suggests there will always be an impassable gulf between any artifacts, including machines, of whatever sophistication produced by our skill and their creators, us humans. Our definition of narrow AI covers most of the AI currently deployed, and therefore, we will consider it first, although much of the public imagination has been captured by the more speculative AGI, ASI forms, particularly as they have been portrayed in sci-fi. Films such as 2001, A Space Odyssey, Ex Machina, The Matrix, and many others. There is also an entire genre of literature devoted to the hopes and fears generated by this topic. 3 contemporary bestsellers are worth noting. The first 2 were written by Israeli historian Yuval Noah Harari. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, deals with the first of our questions, the origins of humanity. The second, Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow, deals with the future of humanity. The third book to note is Origin by Dan Brown, a novel that focuses on the use of AI to answer both of our questions in the form of a page-turning thriller. It is likely that these books, and others besides, are influencing the thinking of many people, particularly those who are young. Science fiction has clearly been a stimulus to some in starting them on a useful career in science itself. A word of caution is needed, however. Brown, in Origin, claims to use real science to come to his conclusions, and so, despite the fact that his book is a work of fiction, we must check his arguments and conclusions to see if they are true. This is especially important since Brown tells us that his motive for writing the book was to tackle the question, will God survive science? It was the same question in various forms that motivated me to write several of my books as well. Yet while I am convinced that God will more than survive science, I seriously question whether atheism will do the same. One of Dan Brown's main characters in Origin is Edmund Kirsch, a billionaire computer scientist and AI expert who claims to have solved the questions of life's origin and human destiny. He intends to use his findings to fulfill his long-time goal to employ the truth of science to eradicate the myth of religion, meaning, in particular, the 3 Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Perhaps inevitably, Kirsch concentrates on Christianity, His solutions, when they are eventually revealed to the world, are a product of his expertise in artificial intelligence, and his take on the future involves the technological modification of human beings. At this point, we should note that not only science fiction writers, but an increasing number of our most respected scientists suggest that humanity itself may be changed by technology. Martin Rees has said, "We can have zero confidence that the dominant intelligences a few centuries hence will have any emotional resonance with us, even though they may have an algorithmic understanding of how we behaved." In the same vein, Rees also says, "Abstract thinking by biological brains has underpinned the emergence of all culture and science. But this activity, spanning tens of millennia at most, will be a brief precursor to the more powerful intellects of the inorganic post-human era. So in the far future, it won't be the minds of humans, but those of machines that will most fully understand the cosmos." This topic is not going away anytime soon. Indeed, it is likely to become more of a pressing question as technology advances further. It is of interest not only to people who are directly involved in AI research, but also to mathematicians and scientists in other disciplines whose work and outlook are increasingly influenced by it. Indeed, since the outcomes and ideas surrounding work on AI will inevitably affect us all, many people are thinking and writing about it who are not scientists at all. Philosophers, ethicists, theologians, cultural commentators, novelists, and artists must necessarily get involved in this wider debate. After all, you do not need to be a nuclear physicist or climatologist to discuss the impact of nuclear energy or climate change on your life.